can be paid for. And not only that, there are new spending. A whole lot of it is for ICE. $170 billion is for border and immigration, and ICE recruitment is promising $50,000 signing bonus, as well as student loan forgiveness, which nobody else gets to have. But this is what's happening, and the national debt is increasing by over $3 trillion, right? So here's what's going to happen if we leave this as is. The biggest hit is going to be on Medicaid. And if you think that you don't have to be worried because you're not on Medicaid, you are mistaken. Because the way our healthcare system works, our hospitals, they are reimbursed for the services they provide, emergency care, Medicaid care that they provide through our Medicaid budget. So what that means is when we are facing a big hole, it means hospitals are going to close. It means the neediest of hospitals are most likely to close. It means 200,000 hospital jobs are going to be lost, and we are already hearing about layoffs at hospitals, and nobody wants hospitals to be closing. Absolutely nobody, right? This is a bipartisan issue. It doesn't matter what income bracket you're from. We need to be able to get health care. And not only that, if you're on a different plan, if you're on a private plan, people are already getting notices that your costs are also going up, because this is what happens. This is what happens when you chip away at the main way that we fund our healthcare system. So we live in New York State, which is the second richest state in the country. We have more wealth here than in countries like Sweden. The difference is we really do allow the very wealthy, the corporations, the people who make thousands per minute when they're sleeping because they have made all these investments that they don't even have to work for. We allow these people to hoard the collective wealth that we have. So right now what's happening in the state government is people are thinking, well, for this budget, the currently active one, we only have a $750 million gap, so we don't need to do anything. We don't need to go back in Albany. We'll just deal with that with the reserves, and then we're going to figure out next year what's going to happen. We're going to wait till we pass the next budget in April or May or whenever it's going to be, and that's going to be fine. And we are here to say that is actually not fine.
Yeah.
It is not fine, because we have our county executive, Jen Metzger, here, and other county folks who are terrified. Mayors and town supervisors, they're terrified because these localities already don't have enough money to meet the needs of the people they're serving. And now, not only is the state facing these cuts, so are the counties, so are the cities, so are the localities. So we cannot leave this year full of uncertainties when we don't know what's going to happen to our food stamps, when we don't know what's going to happen to people getting the care that they need, what's going to happen when people get sick. And guess what? People are getting sick. People are still getting COVID, right? What's going to happen if we lose our healthcare workers? So that's what we are here to talk about, because in New York State, a person who makes $215,000 pays the same tax rate as somebody who makes $1 million. Boo, you can boo that. A person who makes $5 million in personal income tax pays the same rate as a person who makes $20 million in personal income. And if we made the tax rate progressive so that the people who have more money are paying a fair share, we would raise $20 billion in a year. If we tax capital gains, which are the investments you make for which you don't even have to work for, if we taxed it at a value more than $500,000, we would make billions of dollars per year. Right? It's not a one-time, it's every year. And New York, lots of corporations make large corporate profits in New York, and yet the tax rate that we charge it is lower than New Jersey, is lower than Massachusetts, is lower than Vermont, is lower than Delaware.
It's lower than Pennsylvania.
It's lower than Pennsylvania. talk about in a bit. But for now, I'm going to pass it to our county executive, Jen Metzger, so that she can tell us what's going to happen to the county.
Hello, everyone. So I'm here to give you the county perspective on this disastrous budget for our communities. And I know a thing or two about it because the county is responsible for overseeing social services for our residents. So first off, I would just like to see, just take a guess. How many of our residents do you think depend upon Medicaid and its expansion under the Affordable Care Act for health care?
20%. 30%.
25.
Almost a third. Almost a third of our population would not have health care but for Medicaid and its expansion under the ACA. Another 4,700 children are insured under CHIP, the Child Health Care Plus program, which is a program that was created for families who aren't eligible for Medicaid but can't afford health insurance. So at least their kids are insured. Another 18,000 households in our county depend on SNAP to afford enough to eat. And by the way, that is not enough already, okay? So the Trump budget makes devastating cuts to all of these programs. And it's not just households that rely on these programs that will be hurt. It's most of our residents. Because what this budget does, what the Trump budget does, is effectively shift the onus, much of the onus for paying for these programs from the wealthy and corporations to local taxpayers. That is what it's doing. And so many of our residents, they're like, property taxes are a regressive tax in rural communities. Many of our residents are barely able to make mortgage payments as it is. They're struggling to live from day to day. So this is not a preordained outcome by any means, as you heard from Sarahana. And I'm just gonna, as we are the 8th largest economy in the world, mind you. And as Sarahana said, we are already a very unequal economy. And this Trump budget has made it a whole lot more unequal and unfair. This is just the impacts of the Trump budget alone. The top 1% of New Yorkers will have more than $5.5 billion in their pockets in 2026 alone as a result of that bill, of that law. The top 5% earners will have $13 billion more dollars in their pockets thanks to the Trump law, okay? Corporations now have a permanent tax rate that is less than half of what it was under the Republican Eisenhower administration in the 1950s, okay? So we have a path forward. The state, our governor, and our legislature can capture this unearned windfall and close the gaps in the budget and mend the social safety net and create a fairer path forward for New York State. There is a choice here. They have an opportunity to be heroic in this moment. Yeah. They do. Right? And they can fight and counter the regressive and entirely irresponsible impacts of this federal bill. So they need to get to work now. They can't put it off. And by the way, that $750 million price tag is a fiction because it's not taking into account, it's just making the assumption that people should just lose their benefits. And that's not an assumption I'm willing to make. You can fill those gaps. with this funding. So the money is here. The money is here in New York. And this is really the moment to seize it, and take action. So I am totally behind the state. I actually expected the legislature to meet in special session. I didn't think it was even a question mark. So we got to urge the leadership and the governor to get moving now. Thank you very much.
Okay. When I say tax the rich, you're gonna say seize our future, okay? Tax the rich!
Seize our future!
Tax the rich!
Seize our future!
Louder, please. Tax the rich!
Seize our future!
Louder! Tax the rich!
Seize our future!
Tax the rich!
Seize our future!
Tax the rich!
Seize our future!
Awesome, thank you. All right, so I am gonna welcome somebody who is on the organizing aspect of what we have to do, because the way things move forward is we have some people on the inside, we have Jen, we have me, who are pushing for these things, but we also need a lot of noise, a lot of power building on the outside to really make this a reality, not just for the hole that we are facing this year, but really this budget was enacted to affect 10 years, but the consequences are going to be way longer. It sets us back on a lot of things. We're going to be dealing with this for 25 years. So we have the opportunity to say we are New York, and we don't have to sit here and watch this happen in our state, because we have the power and we have the wealth to say, no, we're not going to let that happen. But there does need to be a lot of organizing. We need more people to get involved. So I'm going to invite up from Mid-Hudson Valley DSA, Liana Zillis.
Hi everyone, thank you Assemblymember Sarahana, thank you County Executive Jen Metzger. My name is Liana Zillis, and I serve as the co-chair of the Mid-Hudson Valley chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America. And often people ask me what democratic socialism is and why I am a democratic socialist. So I think an easy answer to that is that I believe that ordinary people should have a greater say in our workplaces, in our neighborhoods, in society as a whole. And I believe that the things that we need in order to live freely and comfortably in the modern world should not be for profit. So that means housing, healthcare, education, our utilities, those things should be human rights. And honestly, in the past 6 to 7 months, I have felt very scared, I felt disgusted, disheartened, but I've also felt very justified to be a democratic socialist right now, to believe in these things, but also to fight and organize for them alongside 600 plus other people in the Hudson Valley, even more across the country. So right now, actually, Donald Trump himself has realized that using the word socialism as an insult just doesn't have the juice anymore. He's calling us communists now because he realizes that socialism is very popular. But at the end of the day, it is not about the word that we're using. It is about what we are fighting for and what we are organizing for. So as we all gather here today, the Trump-Vance administration and nearly every Republican at the federal level, they are taking money away from the public programs that benefit all of us and funneling them to the pockets of billionaires to fund a genocide in Gaza and to pour money, millions of dollars, into systems like ICE that are designed to intimidate us, to attack our immigrant neighbors, and endanger all of us. So the impacts of this, as Sarahana mentioned, as Jen mentioned, the impacts of this will be felt by everybody. Who here has ever used Medicaid? Who here has ever used food assistance? I know, a few of us have. Who here is a healthcare worker? Who here knows a healthcare worker? A lot of us know healthcare workers. Who here lives in a rural area? A lot of us, we're in the Hudson Valley, so that makes sense. So I'm from Sullivan County, which is very rural, and if you don't know where that is, all you have to do is just go on Route 209, drive towards Ellenville, and just keep on driving. So my mom, she lives there. She is an immigrant, and she is a healthcare worker. She has worked as a nurse for over 30 years, caring for children with disabilities. And her workplace, especially this year, has been facing they've been facing cuts in how much they're able to spend, how many staff they're able to hire. So they are very understaffed. And she and her coworkers, they're already working 12-hour shifts every week, and they keep on getting constant calls to come in for overtime because they are so understaffed. And this is a direct result of the Medicaid cuts that we're seeing at the federal level. And it's also a result of the massive underinvestment that we are seeing in healthcare across this country and this state. And in the wealthiest country in the world, and in one of the wealthiest states in the wealthiest country in the world, we cannot afford to do nothing. So, we need to stop these cuts. We need to fill the cuts. We need to go into a special session. But we also need to dream of something bigger. Things were not good before this, let's be real. People were struggling to stay in their homes. We're struggling to pay our utility bills, to pay for healthcare. And the affordability crisis is real. We are living through it right now. And it is this same affordability crisis that led to both Trump's first and second successful elections. And to stop fascism, we must build a multiracial, multi-generational mass movement of working class people who will fight for these long-term solutions to our affordability crisis. And to steal a line from New York City Democratic mayoral nominee Zoran Mondani, we must fight to afford to dream. So New York State has the power to lead us in the fight against fascism and for affordability and for human rights. And that's why today I'm joining many others across the state to demand Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, and Governor Kathy Hochul to return to Albany to fill the cuts that the Trump administration imposed and do so much more. In the next month, we could pass New York for All and dignity not detention to end New York State's collaboration with ICE and protect our immigrant neighbors. And in the next year, this fight doesn't stop just now. This fight doesn't stop in the next month. We are going to keep on fighting into 2026. So in the next year, we can tax the rich to make New York State truly affordable for everybody who lives here and everyone who might be coming here, maybe seeking refuge from more conservative states. And we can fight to make housing a human right through building tens of thousands of permanently affordable homes through the Social Housing Development Authority. We can take over Central Hudson and replace it with the Hudson Valley Power Authority. And we can fight for a future where no one gets left behind. So, if you are here with us today, if you took the time out of your busy Saturday to be at this rally, one, thank you, and two, Mid-Hudson Valley Democratic Socialists of America, we have a table right over there. June is sitting at it. They want to talk to you. We all want to talk to you. We all want to see how we can bring more people into this movement and get everyone involved. So please come talk to us about how we can fight for a special session, fight to tax the rich and stop ICE and even more. Because when we fight, we win. And when we organize, we win. So yeah. That is everything from me. Thank you, everyone, and solidarity.
Thank you. I also want to just give a shout out to Tin Horns Uprising that was here playing music. Before we decided to do this rally, first we asked them if they could come play music, and that's how we made the decision. I also want to give shout out to some electeds who are here. Christopher Munn, Dutchess County Legislator. Michelle First, Kingston Common Council Member. Sarah Hastie, Kingston Common Council Member. And next, did I miss anybody other than Michael? No, Michael's going to be speaking. Did I miss anybody any other elected? Okay. So with that, I am now going to introduce another Kingston Common Council member Michael Tierney, who represents Ward 2.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Michael Tierney. I'm the alderman of the 2nd Ward here in Kingston, here on this beautiful day. And a lot of the great things that happen in Kingston happen through grants that are at risk of the federal government. And in addition to, to the grants, we also have a significant portion of our, even before the fascist bill to rob public money, rob public lands, cut Medicaid, we had half of our tenants here in the city of Kingston living paycheck to paycheck, rent bill to rent bill. When the federal government, when the militarists and the fascists and their corporate enablers cut Medicaid and cut SNAP, that puts everything here in the city of Kingston at risk. When you have already half of your community living paycheck to paycheck, every dollar cut from their SNAP and from their Medicaid reverberates through our community. We are going to see evictions. We're going to see the acceleration of gentrification from this. We're going to see some really hard times in the city of Kingston if Albany doesn't act. But Albany has the opportunity, the governor has the opportunity, Speaker Heastie has the opportunity to make sure that all of those enablers of Trump, they vote for him in Ohio or wherever, but they bankroll him here in New York City and here in New York State and in the Hudson Valley. All of his checks come from our communities. And so those people who send their money to the fascists in Washington, they need to reinvest it here in New York. And we're so grateful to have Assemblymember Shrestha, who is constant in demanding that the rich pay their fair share. But now it is time for Kathy Hochul and Carl Heastie to do their job and call a special session so we can continue to have a great city that cares for every single person here, whether you are here at the farmer's market or if you've lived here for forever. But this is our community and we need to protect it by working with Sarahana to make sure that the rich pay their fair share. Thank you so much.
All right. Just to get ourselves energized, we're going to say it one more time. I'm going to say tax the rich, you're going to say seize our future. Okay, you ready? And loud as you can. Tax the rich!
Seize our future!
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 Now I'm going to say tax the rich and you're going to say fill the cuts. All right? Tax the rich!
Fill the cuts!
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 Great, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna move on to our last speaker, but I want to touch on something that Liana just mentioned, which is that, Medicaid is the second largest area of spending in the state budget. It's also what is funded at the local level by property taxes, so it's jointly funded by federal money, state money, and local money. However, it really has been, sort of unsustainable and on the verge of, a breakdown for a while. And part of it is because New York has actually done a fairly good job making sure that a lot of people get coverage through Medicaid and also through this plan that we have called the Essential Plan, which covers people who are just outside the income requirement of Medicaid, as well as immigrants who are not otherwise qualified for Medicaid. So we are actually doing a pretty good job, but the problem is when you fund hospitals this way with this patchwork of public money, private insurance, etc., it is not sustainable. So what we also want to fight for is universal health care. We want to fight for a great single-payer health care that has been kicking around in the legislature since the 70s, that has gone through many changes, whose original sponsor, Richard Godfrey, who's retired, still emails us to be like, guys, don't forget about the New York Health Act. So this bill not only would make it so that everybody has quality coverage, nobody's really worried about who, which provider covers who, what's your deductible going to be, what's your copay going to be. Everybody gets the same quality health care, but here's the kicker. Overall, we save $20 billion from enacting a plan like this, right? So I think it's time to start talking about New York Health Act again. I think now is the time. And we may not have a cooperative federal government right now.
Okay.
But when we do, we need to be ready. I've heard that states are, sort of trying to figure out how they can do this without a federal waiver. But even if we do need a federal waiver, we need to build the support for this bill so that when the conditions are there, we are ready to pass it and enact it, because this is a big program. So, and then the other thing we want to do, all this money that is being hoarded, and by the way, culturally, there was a time when hoarding money was taboo, right? Money was an instrument that really was supposed to exchange hands and just not stay put. And that is not what happens right now. A lot of money right now just sits there doing nothing, right? Doing nothing, not being put to any good use. So we do want $5 billion to build permanently affordable, high-quality homes all across the state. Because we think that if what the private builders are doing is just not cutting it, we think we can do it ourselves, because we've already actually done it in the 70s, and we just need to pick this back up. So there are lots of opportunities we have to first claim the wealth that is rightfully ours, that we help to generate, that the workers help to generate, and then to invest this money in what is going to improve our lives. Do you know that New York State leads in the most unequal state in the whole country? It is always hovering, just number one, number two, and the reason is both some of the poorest and some of the richest live in this state. And I just want to say one thing about this myth that rich people will leave the state. Rich people have money so that they can live wherever it is that they want.
That's right.
And there is no data to show that they are fleeing the state to save on taxes. In fact, what we see is that the people who are fleeing the state because they cannot afford to live here are really the middle class folks and the low income class folks. So we have our information, we have our instruction. We want to tax the rich, we want to seize our future, we want to save New Yorkers, we want to fill these cuts. And with that, I'm going to hand it to our last speaker. I think Jenna from For the Many is here. Come on, Jenna.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Amazing. The federal budget scam, or the big bullshit bill as we're calling it, is one of the most devastating pieces of legislation to pass in Washington in quite some time. This budget will make New Yorkers sicker, hungrier, and less safe. Also, the ultra-wealthy can continue to hoard money. The impact, thank you, yes. The impact will be nothing short of massive. 1.5 million people will lose health care. 3 million are at risk of losing SNAP benefits. Hospitals are facing dangerous shortfalls. Insurance premiums are spiking, and ICE is continuing to terrorize our communities. Legislators, you have a choice. Will you protect billionaires and corporations, or will you fight for working class and immigrant families that make this state so great?
Yeah.
We know the solution. It is already on the table. Tax the ultra wealthy. Pass New York for all. Pass dignity, not detention. The state can close the gap, protect public programs, and keep families safe. If you convene a special session now. Governor Hochul, people across the state, across party lines, support making the ultra-wealthy pay their fair share. We are out of time. People are suffering. This is the moment to lead. New York must show the country what it looks like when lawmakers stand up for the people they represent. I'm proud to stand with Assemblymember Sarahana in calling for a special session now. It's time for our lawmakers to get back to Albany and convene a special session to tax the billionaires, to fund our communities, and to stop cooperating with ICE. We cannot wait till January. We need to fight like hell right now.
Thank you, everyone. So there is some information we have over those tables, especially on New York for All. One thing that is happening is, well, first of all, ICE is being infused with an unprecedented amount of funding to basically turn our country into a police state where people are just being kidnapped with no due process, etc. And this money is about to embolden this deportation agenda by a whole lot more. So New York does have a few options in responding. There are some areas where we don't have the jurisdiction, but one thing we can stop is prohibiting the collusion between local law enforcement and ICE agents. We have many localities, for example, on Long Island, where basically their local police are gonna get this ICE funding to do ICE's work, and that's how they're gonna expand their capacity. And they are having a hard time recruiting these ICE agents, and they've launched this this campaign basically being like, the country needs you, offering them all this signing bonuses and student loan forgiveness, etc. So it is really, really pathetic, but it also is really something that we cannot sit back and just say, you know what, there's very little we can do. We do not want our localities to enter contracts with ICE. We do not want our localities to work for ICE. We don't want to use our county jails to detain people who deserve a due process. And we do not want a politics of this constant fuel of hatred and division, because that is how the 1% is going to keep us divided forever, right? Don't look at us, look somewhere else. Look at this immigrant, look at this trans person, look at this person who is on food stamps. That's what's going on here. But no, we want to be vigilant, and we want to look at our actual targets that are the people who are working for these large corporations and the corporate interest that is completely hijacked our democracy. So that's what this movement that Liana talked about is really about, and it absolutely does start with wealth equity and protecting our social foundations and protecting every single New Yorker. So I hope you take some information, and I hope you stay in touch with our office as well. Thank you so much for coming to this rescheduled rally.